Hello, everybody on LinkedIn and YouTube Live. We are here for the very first session of hashtag Ask Danny, and I'm so excited to be here again live to help out everybody. So without ado, I'm going to switch over to the comments view. All right. And we'll just wait for these comments to show up. Hopefully this works. This is my first time using some different software, so the worst thing that could happen. Oh, I see some things. So James, welcome. Welcome from Canada. Brian, welcome from Texas. Yeehaw! Is that how they say it? Okay. So yeah, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Mark, yes, such a global audience. It's amazing what we can do now with technology. And I think it's one of the benefits of being so connected with everybody. Like, this is amazing. All right. Divika, thank you so much for joining. Oh, James is from Alberta. I actually did a semester overseas in Alberta when I was doing my exchange during my university. So I love that place. That place was amazing. Miriam from Mexico, thank you so much for joining. Callistus from India, amazing. Ayush, great to see you here, mate. All right. So, yeah, just feel free to ask me anything that you guys like. I'm going to try and answer them as quickly as possible, and we'll try and have like a very interactive sort of live session today. All right. Ayodeji, thank you so much for tuning in. Another Ayush from India, thank you so much for tuning in. All right. Oh, Matabad, you know what's up. These headphones are amazing, by the way. Akshay, welcome. Oh, this is awesome. We're getting a lot of people from all over the world, which is exactly what we planned on doing as well. But to give you guys a little bit of context on why I'm back live again. So last year I did a few live streams where I was talking about a few different topics about breaking into data science, different skills that you might need as a data analyst or a data scientist. And the part that I enjoyed the most, and I thought that people got a lot of value out of was just answering questions that came up during those live streams. So here we are back again to do more Q&A only. All right, so let's start with, I'm gonna not be able to pronounce this name properly, Madhu Sudana. All right, let's start with your question. What do you suggest for a beginner to learn about data science or business analytics? There are a ton of things that you could learn when we think about data science and business analytics, because they're related but very disparate at the same time. So I would actually first figure out, do you want to learn about data science or business analytics, because they're really different. So have a think through, but a lot of the time we want to try and answer problems with data. That's the most important thing. Okay, all these comments are coming in thick and fast. Okay, Ayush, how can freshers like me go for data science jobs? Very simply, you have to have project portfolio, ideally on GitHub, and sharing it with your prospective employers. Divyesh, what to do if you know stuff but companies are not hiring? Again, projects is the main thing. Projects and mentoring, I think that's really important. Mark, what am I working on right now? So for the people who've been following me on LinkedIn and reading up on my memes and everything else, I actually launched my very first online course called Serious SQL Under the Whole Data with Danny virtual apprenticeship program. So currently it's in a live beta phase. And I'm working super hard to try and get everything done by hopefully beginning of April, so we can do a full launch. So I'm going to try and put some details up later, probably in the comments. But at the moment, I'm kind of like reading a lot of the Postgres documentation, as dry as it seems, but it's really, really interesting. So hopefully I can translate that into meaningful content for people to learn from. But so far, the feedback has been really amazing from everyone who's joined the beta phase so far. So thank you so much for everyone who's tuned in and started taking on Serious SQL. Okay, let's go. Tyler, thank you so much for staying up late. I'm sorry about the timing. This is like full test and learn, so I have no idea if this is the right time or not the right time. So we'll try and we'll see how we go. Bernard, thank you so much for joining from Singapore. Okay, Shashi, let's go. What career would you suggest after an MBA in business analytics? That's really interesting because I don't have an MBA, but I've seen a few people who try and transition out of that MBA phase and move into a management tier. So you try and leverage your skills with the business to then move on to lead business teams, but there's still a bridging gap between the technical experience you might need to successfully lead some data science teams or data analytics teams and fresh out of an MBA. So try and bridge that gap by trying to do more technical projects, and I think that will get you partway there. Okay. Clay, where do you see the line between data engineering and data science? So I think of data engineering as like making sure the data ends up repeatedly where it should be in a very robust manner and everything is tested. Data science is more about exploration, experimentation, and a little more focus on machine learning. So data engineering, very, very good with data, very good with programming, very good with the engineering and making things are there at the right time, at the right place. Data science, more about using those outputs that engineering help generate to work very closely with the business to figure out how they can use it for experimentation. Okay, Tyler, make sure not sure what question you're trying to answer, but it looks like make sure you prioritize projects that can fulfill a use case that your target employer might actually need or want. I think this is about the projects for trying to get into new roles. So definitely, if you have a target domain or a target industry that you want to get into, try and prioritize a project that actually uses data from that area so you can make it very targeted. Okay, Seema, thank you so much for tuning in. Social listening, have you used data science for it, and any great examples in my experience? I have not, but I really want to do something like that, like mining my LinkedIn data, my YouTube data, all that sort of stuff to try and get a better idea of how I can run my own business and branding a bit more effectively. I have not quite really seen a very good example of it being used so far, but I'm sure that someone in the comments, or probably I just haven't spent enough time researching it. Okay, Debran, if you're a complete beginner and want to build your portfolio for a career in data science, can your project hurt you? Yes, it can. So that's why it's actually it's a fine line, because when you share a project, you're essentially having maximum vulnerability, because if you have any gaps in your knowledge, people will be able to see it. But I think at the same time, that's where you can get real feedback on where your skills are at and what you can improve on. So definitely put yourself out there. Okay, Daniel, I'm like at the bottom of all the comments when I should be at the top. So hopefully I can try and catch up. Okay, Daniel, when data gets too large, what do you think is a decent alternative for Google Sheets? That's an interesting one. So Google Sheets, I think there's quite a good integration with BigQuery, actually, because they're both Google products. So definitely look into that. And the second part of the question, it's gone off the screen, but I can still see it here on mine, is I work for a startup where we're thinking of moving all our reporting and database warehouse to that. So yes, definitely look into BigQuery. If you're already on Google, that's probably ideal. BigQuery is essentially Google's cloud database as a service product. Okay, Tyler, answering Debran's question. I hope Debran, hope it helps. Yogita, what according to you are the basic skills people should concentrate when they start with data science? Okay, I actually have like a full-on YouTube live stream that I did last year that covers a lot of that. So I'll reach out to you and I'll send you a link directly to that. But in a nutshell, I would say SQL, very, very important. GitHub is probably also very, very important too. That, especially if you want to move into data science. But I think knowing Git, being able to use Git and GitHub as a data analyst really takes you to that next level. So definitely something that you can look into. Okay. Seema, thank you. Charlie, great to see you here, man. All right. Ayush, what are your thoughts about process mining? So process mining, I actually did a little bit of work around, we tried to mine sequences. So essentially a process would be like what step A, step B, step C, maybe it skips step D or something and goes somewhere else. So you can actually model these as essentially sequences and you can do all sorts of different things. There are some deep learning things that you can do with it as well, but it's probably not where you would start. So simple things for process mining might include association rules, naive probabilities of if this thing happens, then what happens here afterwards, sort of like conditional probabilities. Another thing you could look at would be some graph analytics, which is along the same lines as well. So hope that helps. Mark and Dibran, looks like Tyler's answer has helped. Mark, thank you so much for your support. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm starting to feel the brunt of having a lot of messages to try and deal with. Additionally to doing everything like making memes and responding to people on the Slack and all these different channels. So I'm sorry if I take a while to get back to you, but I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. Okay. James A. talking about Alberta and Canada. So instead of saying yeehaw, they say Yahoo, which sounds, I hope I said it right in the right accent as well. All right. Shali Pritika, I hope I said that right. Could you tell us what kind of projects can we do to build a good portfolio? What courses can we get to an advanced level of data science? Okay, so let's talk about the advanced level first. So when we think of advanced, there's a few different tiers, and also there's advanced for different skills. Luckily, I covered this in quite a lot of depth in one of my YouTube videos, so I'll try and link you to that one as well. If people are in the comments and they know which one I'm talking about, they can probably help you out straight away. But there's definitely for data science, there's like from junior level all the way up to like senior, mega advanced level. So I won't be able to answer it really quickly here, but there's definitely a lot. In terms of what courses there are, I think no courses will really be able to teach you an advanced level of something. You'll have to go out there and experience it yourself. So try and use a lot of data, try and solve a lot of interesting problems, and keep going and challenging yourself to get to the advanced level. Okay, what kind of projects should we be building? I think things which are very realistic. So ideally, you would have data that is generated by someone, maybe like a real business. That would be ideal. But I think when you're working on your projects, the most important thing is to get feedback from people to let you know whether you're on the right track or whether it's something which is useful for the hiring managers. So definitely reach out to different people and get a lot of feedback. That's probably the most important thing. Okay, Clay talking about Daniel's question. Oh, I think this is about the BigQuery. So there's other cloud products. Yes, there's AWS and Azure. I think you guys call it Azure instead of Azure. I don't know. Just my weird Australian accent. But yeah, definitely look into those things. I think any of the competing clouds is ideal because everything is starting to move onto the cloud anyway. So better to start now rather than later. Let's put it that way. Okay, Vipul asking me the dangerous question of Python versus R. So for full disclosure, after I finish my SQL course that I'm doing, my next course is going to be like a data analytics thing. And the way I wanted to run it was to essentially teach both R and Python at the same time, because so honestly, when you're working as a data scientist in the industry, translating between different languages is like a real thing. So yeah, I actually think that it doesn't really matter which one you choose. Python, there's a lot more, let's call them mature machine learning packages, but R has the same thing and equivalent things as well. But I would say R is actually, the learning curve might be a little less steep because it's based around how do you deal with tabular data, and tabular data is things which have rows and columns. Whilst Python, because it's very useful for a lot of different domains, it might actually challenge you to really focus on what you should be using. So of course, in Python, there's pandas that you can be using for tabular data. But yeah, I would say that the learning curve for R is actually less steep, even though a lot of people really enjoy using Python. But yeah, it's up to you. It depends like what your preference is. Like, do you want to do more statistical work, or do you want to lean more towards the machine learning and deep learning? Then you have like a natural choice either way. But over time, as you develop your skills, I think it's not a big stretch to say that most people should be able to do whatever they can do in one language in another. Translation is going to be very valuable for people. Okay, Pragna, can you mention some interesting drug discovery data sets? I actually have a friend who works for Bayer pharmaceuticals. So I can probably ask him and try and find out a bit more, but I honestly have no idea. So, but I hope someone in the comments can help out as well with this one about drug discovery, because I think it's really important, especially now that like in this post-pandemic stage as well of what everything is going on. Like I think this is going to be a big focus moving forward. Okay. Shali Pritika, thank you so much for tuning in. Miriam, okay, so Danny, what skills should be required to work in a center of excellence? Oh, okay. So I had like a big, very popular meme post that kind of made a joke about center of excellences and different things, but I think they're really important in terms of like when you work in really large organizations, there should be a centralized team that is driving forward the data strategy, the analytics strategy, and I think the most important thing is probably strategic thinking. So I'm not sure if the MBA is like the direct proxy of having that strategic thinking. However, it probably helps, but I wouldn't think of that as the first thing that you should jump into in terms of working in a center of excellence. I think having experience is the most important thing. All right. Okay, LSTMs versus Arima and Sarima. Javier, thank you so much for your question. So there's actually a really interesting developments now. So there's like the whole transformers thing is coming in for deep learning, and a lot of the literature that I'm reading is saying that transformers outperforms LSTMs, and Arima and Sarima are kind of like the old school time series techniques, which you should start with to have as a baseline. So I would say that in general, if you're able to massage your data set to actually fit that paradigm of being able to use LSTMs and deep learning, usually it does a good job of what you're trying to do, but there's a lot of work that actually needs to go in and make it happen. So just keep that in mind for when you're going through these sorts of things. Okay, I seem to have lost wherever I was. Okay, I can see Vipul. Thank you so much for sharing the link. I think it's gone on the screen, but thanks again. Michelle, definitely. If you're good at both Python and R, you're definitely a double threat. You're probably really good at SQL as well. So triple threat. I think that's like, if you're very good at doing all of those things, you're going to be able to add a lot of value. And that's the most important thing when we're working in this industry, is to focus on the business value, as well as working with other people and having a good time. Okay. Yogita, thank you so much for sharing those links. Yeah, they're really long. So I'm actually thinking of chopping up some of those videos so I can have more content and videos to share on LinkedIn, so I don't have to keep making memes and stuff. So yeah, hopefully one day I'll get around to that when I have some more time. Okay. Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that episode 1 as well. So that was actually my first live stream. I was super nervous. But yeah, I honestly can't even remember what those 3 must-have skills are. So people will have to go in and check it out. All right. Tyler, I'd like to see some NLP done on COVID vaccine studies. That would be pretty interesting. For me personally, I'm trying to avoid anything which is related to like the pandemic and anything which is related to global events. I don't know if it's just me, or like I have a feeling in my mind that I want to keep whatever projects that I have not dated to anything, if that makes sense. So like, let's say in 5 years time or someone will look at my portfolio and they'll see some COVID stuff and they'll be like, oh, interesting COVID, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I think it's good to do. Like, definitely there's a ton of different projects and it's very topical and very relevant at the moment. I just think personally I wouldn't do those sorts of things, mainly because there's a lot of controversy around those sorts of topics as well. So on one hand, or I think one of the things that my mentors told me was just to like always try and move away from controversy, unless you're on social media and you need more memes or likes or something. So if that's what you're going for, then go nuts. Okay. Shadi, thank you so much for joining in. I remember seeing you a lot when I was doing my live streams last year. So thank you again for tuning in. Okay. Dr. Prayas Sharma. Yes, very good response on R and Python. Thank you so much. Miriam, thank you. Okay. Ayush, I think we need an international data science students community for practice and queries. So about this, I'm actually So my wider vision for the thing with the Data with Danny and the Serious SQL in all my courses is to build up this sort of community style teaching approach. But I also, so my vision is actually to train people in the same way that I got trained as through my mentors, where I was just working almost one-to-one with very, very experienced people, and I got to suck all the knowledge out of their brains. So in the same way, I reckon that we can do something similar, but if we have a larger community around it, I think that'll be really powerful. So I'm hoping to build out that sort of practice questions and queries and case studies and assignments, as well as technical interview questions as part of the Serious SQL course. And for other courses I'm going to do in the future as well, I'm going to have very specific, like let's say data analytics case studies for experimentation, which people can kind of take home and do it within 2 days or something. So yeah, hope that is interesting. Okay. Mega, I believe it's time we completely shifted focus to cloud-based ML. Yes, I agree. Why waste time learning lots and lots when we have everything already pre-built in the cloud? Okay, and yes, if we're going to do research, we're going to be on the other side of the building ML tools. Yes, that does make sense. Okay, so there is a lot of stuff that is currently moving over into the cloud, and I think the cloud is something that will definitely be a focus. So for people who are starting now and they're kind of like, oh, should I try and install everything locally, or should I try and do something on someone else's platform or whatever? Like, I think push yourself to actually try and onboard onto the cloud as an alternative. I think that's really useful, or at least using Docker. So for example, my Serious SQL course is everything is on Docker because it makes it really easy to transfer everything onto cloud infrastructure when you need it. But yeah, in terms of things being pre-built in the cloud, I would actually say that not everything is pre-built yet. So there are some machine learning based tools and workflows and ML ops workflows which are currently in the cloud, and they're provided as managed services. So they're called like serverless or different things like that, where essentially Google will manage most of the things for you and you just need to know how to use it. I would say that there's still quite a lot of customization and inputs that actually need to go in to those sorts of things to actually be able to use it in the right way to get the right outputs. So that goes for research as well as building on top of those sorts of technologies. So there's still a lot of, I think I would call it flux in that space, where we seriously don't know which tools are going to survive or which tools are just a fad or different things like that. So it's something to be aware of, and kind of just, I think, having the ability to quickly learn something, and then if you need it and you need to progress even further, you can learn more to become an advanced user. Or let's say you just spend a little bit of time to learn the minimal amounts that you need to actually be proficient. And then if you don't need to use it, then you just kind of ditch it, and then you don't have as much of a sunk cost. So yeah, that's my thoughts on some of the cloud machine learning and the infrastructure stuff. Okay, Mark, thoughts on Kaggle? Let me have a drink because I'm kind of just motor mouthing the whole time. Okay. Okay, so I think that Kaggle is actually a really good place to learn how to do technical machine learning. So let's say you want to do like machine learning pipelines where you're using preprocessors and model hyperparameter tuning and doing all the different metrics for your model measurement. I think that's really useful. There's also stuff on data visualization and analysis now in Kaggle. So I think it's a good place to be. However, just be mindful that a lot of the solutions that people are sharing on Kaggle, they might not be the most efficient, and they also might not be the thing that you'll be able to do in a real production environment. So if you keep those things in mind and you focus with a very tight, with a very tight scope on what you want to learn on Kaggle, then I think it's fine. But there are some things which you won't be able to learn from Kaggle, and I think over time, as you work more and more on these different problems, you'll be able to understand what are the missing gaps. Yeah, hope that helps. Okay, Ayush, talking about the link or a site or a LinkedIn group. So I actually have a Slack community which I'm growing out. Hopefully that people can ask more questions on there and we can have more interaction. But it's a work in progress. So hopefully someone can help me link the thing also, or I can try and do it myself, but I'll probably reach out to you later. I'm not sure about LinkedIn groups. It seems like there's a lot of LinkedIn groups, but no one actually uses them. So I try to avoid it personally. There's a site for the datawithdanny.com as well. So you can feel free to hit that up and take a look. Okay. Bernard, do people focus on both data science and another field, or is it too stretched? So that's probably the natural way that we should be doing data science. It should be very targeted for a specific niche, because I think too often when people are learning data science, there's like a very broad focus, and you kind of like, okay, I need to do data science for genetics and for health and for retail and insurance and marketing. And you kind of just get lost because there's all these different domains that you want to be proficient in. But then there's no real focus. So really, I think digital marketing is a great place because that's where a lot of the current machine learning is being done. So definitely try and focus, at least at first, with one one specific niche area and data science. So then you can understand how it's being applied in that area, and then you can kind of move on to different areas after. Okay, Manal's question: how to start with MLOps? Honestly, I would start reading the documentation for any of the popular MLOps frameworks. So the most popular one is probably MLflow. It's a good place to start. It's a very good one. I think it's built by Databricks. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, very good. Used almost everywhere these days. So yeah, definitely take a look at that. And then there's other flavors and other solutions out there as well. So I'm sure people will mention a few things. Okay, AJ, hello, good to see you. Prem, what are the challenges to help the organization understand the importance of data insights? This is, I think this is a very big question as well. I think most of it is culture. So if you're coming from an organization that hasn't traditionally used a lot of data for their decision making, it will make it much harder to actually break through with any of your insights. Probably the way around it is to focus on what these decision makers are actually focused on, and then work from that perspective. So it's sort of like a seek to understand before being understood sort of thing. So if you work from the other person's perspective and try and rally people around that sort of focus, but then adding in the data driven lens to it, then I think that's where we can really do some good work. Okay, Manal, yep, already answered with the ML ops. AJ, your thoughts on Microsoft data certifications? So I would say if they are cloud certifications, definitely a good thing. I would be pro cloud certifications. For data certifications, I know that Microsoft is coming out and Google are coming out with like data analytics courses, which are being done on their respective clouds as well, which I think is awesome. Like, I think AWS probably has the same thing for engineering, at least. I don't know if they have it for the analytics, but definitely for engineering, they have that too. I would say that they are worthwhile to investigate and look at the curriculum, try and find people who have done it before. I know these are probably new courses, so you might not actually have people who have done it before. So yeah, just try and get some feedback. And worst case comes to whatever it is, you can just try it. And then if you don't like it, then maybe ask for your money back, or hopefully you can have some sort of free trial or something. I'm pro experimentation, so anything that you want to have a go at, like, I'm definitely going to support you for that. Okay. Kevin, thank you so much for joining, man. So what skills do data scientists tend to struggle with when transitioning to a data team lead? This is actually a really great question. I would say that traditionally most data scientists are not going to be people focused. So I've worked with lots of data scientists. I was probably one myself where I just kind of blurt out things like without really thinking about it, and I'd hurt people's feelings and I'd lose friends and different things like that. So I would say that because we're very, like, most data scientists that I've worked with are very direct communicators. So they'll just kind of like say whatever they need to say and just assume that they'll be able to understand the people that they're talking with will understand that same message without any additional work from the communication side. So I would say communication is most important for anything about team leadership, especially so not only do you have to manage the team, like your team members, but you also have to manage projects, deadlines, stakeholders, all of these different things. So yeah, definitely communication is probably the most difficult. And then like time management and different things like that. So, okay. Divika, cloud certifications. I am pro. I put my thumb up. I am pro cloud certifications. In fact, I need to go and get all of mine as well because I think that. So my friends have been telling me because I've worked on the cloud for quite a while now, but I don't actually have formal certification. So my friend Joe was telling me how if you learn the AWS way of doing AWS, it might be different to what you've actually been doing. So you might learn quite a lot. So things like that, being taught how to use the cloud infrastructure by the people who created it is very useful. It makes a lot of sense as well. So I would say that, yeah, cloud certifications, I would definitely look into that too. Okay. Manal, thank you so much. AJ, yes, I think Azure and Data, definitely try it. Like Azure, any of the clouds is really good. I definitely recommend you to try it out as well. Okay, Vipul, thank you so much for sharing the Data with Danny community link. Oh, actually, I don't know if the YouTube one is still live. I need to look into that. But if you remove the YouTube and you put LinkedIn at the end of it, it should work. I think the .com one should work also without any ending. All right. How am I going for time? So we've hit 30 minutes so far. Let's see. I don't think I've missed any questions. So either people are dropping off or people have, I've answered all your questions. So I doubt that's the case. So, there's more. Kevin, thank you so much. Yeah, I think I should be talking slower so people can actually understand what I'm saying, but I'm prioritizing trying to answer all the questions. So yeah, just hopefully people can understand what I'm saying. And then later I'll try and chop up some of these live streams into smaller videos so people who are replaying it don't need to watch the whole 45 minutes or whatever. Okay. I'm going to have a drink and just kind of hang out. If anybody wants like career advice or they want to share more about what they're working on and they wanted some feedback, feel free to do that too. I know it's on LinkedIn and it might be public, so it's not for everybody, but whoever would like to, I'm here for you. Okay, AJ, climate data analytics. I would love to work in some sort of conservation sort of thing, whether it's for like the environment or for animals or endangered animals or different things like that. It would be really cool, but I just haven't seen many roles out there, or maybe I'm not looking hard enough. So, yeah, I definitely think it's a space. The issue would be like, so the difficult thing is like people who are working in data, like you could work for a corporate and they pay you quite a lot of money, or you could work for some better, let's say better causes. And the money is not so good. So it's something that you have to factor in. It's just like, no, it is what it is sort of thing. Okay. Karuna, thank you so much. Hope you're enjoying the session. Aditya, I hope I said your name properly. Can you please prove a plan of transition from project manager to data science? Oh, this is a very popular question. I've received this quite a lot in the past too. So I would say the first step is to upskill in data science technically. So in your spare time, work on the projects, do the Python, do the R, do the whatever. And whilst you're working, I think you should try and move closer towards data science. So tell your manager, tell your surrounding team members that you want to move into data science eventually. Start working with the data science team on their data science projects so you can kind of get some exposure to what they're doing and get familiar with the team, and then you make your move. So whether it's making the move directly within that current company that you're working in or another company through your networks, that will probably be the path. But the blocker will be your technical knowledge. I think that's the most important thing. As you're transitioning into data science, you kind of have like different paths. So you can either move across as more like management lead level, or you move in as a technical level. Both are difficult. It's not going to be easy, but they're both doable. You have to figure out which strategy you want to take and which role you want to work in the future as well. So have a think for some of these things. Okay, Mark, thank you so much. I hope people are enjoying this and they're getting a lot of value. So I wanted to do this more often because I feel when I make posts, like I don't know if they're actually helping people or if people are just thinking I'm crazy because I just do memes most of the time. So at least now I can talk with people and really make sure whether I'm helping answering some of their questions or not. Okay. Aditya's second comment after completing all the courses. I think after completing courses, you need to have the projects to demonstrate your skills. That's the missing gap. So do the courses, but as you're doing the courses, think about how you can use that to build a portfolio. Okay. Riza, welcome from Malaysia. Thank you so much. We're fully global today. This is awesome. Okay, Devanshu, open source versus licensed. I would actually say open source is the way to go because there's just so many things that you can learn. There are some licensed software, like SaaS would be a very good example where it's licensed. Lots of industries use it. But for me, whether I think that it's going to be a big thing that keeps growing in the future, I'm not too sure. But a lot of the open source stuff, there's definitely a future for it. So I would say I'd be biased towards anything which is open source and liable to grow, or at least has like headroom to continue growing. It's like a better invest. Like think of yourself as an investor of your time and energy. Do you want to invest in things which may or may not grow in the future, or do you want to invest in things which could take you multiple places overseas or different careers or different things? So yeah, have those things in mind when you're trying to pick different things like that. Ricardo, welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. What time is it over there, actually? Is Texas in the same time as like Eastern Standard Time? I don't know. Time zones really weird me out. Like it's crazy. Like especially with data, time zones are the worst. Like anyone who's dealt with converting time zones to UTC and then different local time zones will feel my pain. Okay, Devanshu, I don't understand why companies are inclined on licensed softwares. Yes, I agree. Yeah, so usually it's because someone senior made some senior decision, which has a lot of senior costs and legacy things. And it's usually down to money and reputation and sort of thing. So there's not much that we can do at the ground level, but we can always like raise our concerns and just hopefully things will be heard. But it's just how things are sometimes in corporate. Okay, Debran, I'm working on an unsupervised learning project. Let me just scroll down my comments so I can see everything. Okay. Okay, so you want to find players with similar styles. Okay, what sport is this actually? Football or I think are you holding a rugby ball or I don't know. I can't see properly in the image. Okay, but you want to see over 20,000 players with 40 features. How should you find? Oh, okay, so unsupervised. I would actually say with your features, try and start off with a minimal set of features that you think will be very impactful. For this supervised learning when you're trying essentially to cluster and organize your different players into different groups. And then you can start playing around with, okay, I want to know like there's 5 groups or 4 groups and 3 groups or different things like that. So definitely the unsupervised learning projects, you want to be skewed towards the side of experimentation when you're starting off. And then I would actually recommend to additively add in additional features and keep testing until you find something which is complex but not too complex that you can explain and use, because most of the unsupervised stuff you want to use in practice to explain behavior. So I think it's really useful. Okay. I talked too much on some of those things. So Lakesh, I'm going to bring this up. I don't know if this will actually work. Oh, no, that does not work. I'm going to remove it. Okay. How about moving from a recruiter to data scientist? So this is actually really interesting because I had thoughts about moving the other way around. So from data scientist to a recruiter, because like when people are hiring technical people, if you're technical, you know exactly what skills people have. So the other way around is more challenging. But I think as a recruiter, you'd have specific domain expertise around the problems that might be solved in the recruiting space. So that might be something that's your edge moving into data science. And then having your technical skills up to scratch would be the most important thing as well. Okay, Kevin asked a really good question. Okay, I'm running behind some of these questions now. Can I scroll? No, I can't scroll. Okay. What makes the difference between a good data scientist and a great one? Usually it's programming skill and communication. So as well as excessive amounts of common sense. So a lot of the times, like when we're working on some projects, like a lot of people don't like doing the common sense approach because for some reason, like it's not challenging enough, or it doesn't use the technology that they want to use or whatever. But the common sense approach is always to use what you can to solve the problem, like as cheaply and as simply as possible, so you can move on to more challenging things. So I would say that the great data scientists would be the ones always looking to simplify, as opposed to add complexity. Okay, Ricardo, I think you mentioned what time it was, 9:38 p.m. How can I approach my IT department if there are no open positions for a data analyst role? That will be a challenge. I think you would try to talk to some of the hiring managers or the people who are currently working in the data analytics roles and just buy them a coffee, ask them questions about like what they're doing, what work they're working on, and go from there. That's the best advice I can give you, unfortunately. You can buy them a few drinks as well if it helps, but don't know if that goes by the right rules. Okay. Daniel, are you by any chance able to take on students or apprentices? So my whole mentorship thing is more about, like, I don't know if people have read the Richest Man in Babylon, but I kind of want to be like that richest man in Babylon where he teaches the mentors and then the mentors teach the other mentors and so on and so forth. So you have like a massive like pyramid of mentorship. So unfortunately, I don't have time to take on like one-on-one apprentices or mentors because I'm focusing on doing the courses and doing this stuff and doing everything else that I'm working on. So, but in future, hopefully, if I can have a bit more time to actually help people individually, that'll be awesome. Like that's one of the things I want to do. Okay. Ricardo, 9:38 p.m. Okay, Karuna, do you need to be a data engineer first before being a data scientist? No, but you can be. I think I've worked with really great data scientists who were engineers before. They're like amazing. Debran is saying soccer. Yep, I can see the football in your hand now. Riza, okay, that's a long comment. Actually, I'm a fresh graduate in engineering, recently completed a training track. Okay, what do you think should I learn? Okay, should I learn all the data science tools first, or should I continue simultaneously with job hunting? Difficult question, because I think that it's you kind of have to do both, but the most important thing is actually to start building out your network at the same time, as well as your project portfolio. So you can learn all the skills and keep applying for jobs, but if you don't have the backing to show the hirers what they're going to get when they hire you, and also if you don't have warm connections to help you move into those roles which aren't being applied, it will be difficult to break into that area. Okay. I think I'm almost caught up to the comments now. So Devanshu asked about k-means for Debran. Yeah, I think k-means for the clustering would be a good place to start. There are lots of different other ways that you can do unsupervised learning as well. So just have a Google and you'll find a lot of stuff. Okay, Bokyong, thank you so much. Okay, I'm up to the comments on the screen now. So what are your thoughts about the importance of a master's degree in transitioning from product to business data analyst to data scientist? So a lot of people really like having the masters. Like it's something that helps them bridge that gap in terms of technical training. I would say that, like for me, I don't have a master's. I've just got a bachelor's in commerce, in actuarial studies, and in economics, and I kind of learned everything on the job. So all of the different data science stuff I managed to learn from people who were in data science roles who had that sort of training, and then I was able to leech off their mentorship. So I would say transitioning, it's not so important, but it's more about being in the right place at the right time. So it might help you be in the right place at the right time if you have a master's degree, but I would try and avoid it if you can, because master's degrees are very expensive, can be very expensive as well. So always go for least cost method. Okay. Debran, thank you. Wilson, hello, great to see you here, man. Lakesh, thank you. Okay, Debran talking about PCA and then k-means. Okay. Yeah, there are things with PCA and k-means and different things where there are a lot of hidden assumptions on how they actually break down the data and make it easier to consume, like all the different principal components and different things like that. So just read up on that and what sort of implications that it adds to your analysis before diving into one of those things straight away. But yeah, definitely try and normalize or at least standardize some of your features as well so they don't blow out your k-means loss function, I think. Okay. Ricardo, thank you. Yogita, do you know about any returnship programs? Internship? Okay. For data science and analytics. A break of 7 years. So dealing with a gap, and yeah, it's really challenging. So I think building your own projects is probably one of the first things that you can start off with, because that would actually help you get some of these opportunities within these programs. Like I'm sure there are a lot of returnship. I understand what that means now. Okay, I'm sure there are some of these programs that you can look out for. Hopefully, people in the comments might actually know or can kind of find it on LinkedIn. But I'm sure there's a few things there, so I'll try and reach out to a few people and see if there's anything. But I would say that doing your own projects whilst trying to network in this LinkedIn space is the way to go. These days, like applying for different things without having a warm connection into some of these roles is just really difficult. Yeah, I would focus on those things. So projects and just trying to be a bit more active on social media, try and connect with a few people and just try and start building out that network, because it's true what they say about your net worth is your network. So there is some truth in that also. Okay, LinkedIn user, unfortunately I can't see who you are, but thanks for taking questions. How can one do data science in an organization where the proper data pipelines are not set up, especially when you're more of an analyst and not an architect? The short answer would be with great difficulty. It'll be quite difficult, but not all data science has to be in a production environment. So it's of course, you can just take your data and just apply some of the different techniques that we use in data science, like some of the machine learning and different things to analyze the data and get more value out of it. But the problem is when you need to scale it, but it's a good problem to have. So if you don't have the engineering team that is doing the data science and the data pipelines right now, the first step is actually to have someone really break new ground and show that there's a need for it. So I would say you'll struggle, but there's a lot of opportunity in that space, especially when nothing is set up. It'll just be a bit more difficult than if there were some infrastructure that you can leverage. Okay. Mayowa, thank you so much. Bokyong, thank you. Hope it helped. Yeah, I think master's degrees are just really expensive. So just be very careful. I want everyone to kind of save their money and use it for things that really spark joy and you want to use your money for. So not that education is not important. Like I think it's different for different people. Okay, Tyler. How do you find that data scientists tend to be in business functional areas versus centrally in IT? I get the impression that if you're a data scientist on the business side, there are some that feel it is a lesser than okay. Yeah, so for people tuning in who might not understand this one, it's more so there's like when we think of data science, there's like two sorts of types. There's like a business data scientist, and then there's like the techie data scientist who is doing like the machine learning research, the deep learning crazy stuff that everyone loves to do. Whilst the business data science is more like helping them build experiments and run, look at different metrics that they should be adjusting for business and doing different things like that. So honestly, I think that a lot of data scientists should be in the business area because that's where you can really demonstrate your value. If there was like an ideal ratio of like the research focused data scientists who are doing the crazy hacking stuff compared to the business functional stuff, it should be a heavy skewed towards business function because that's where you can actually generate a lot of value. There are some like edge cases where the research is the business function if you're trying to build a product or different things like that, or massive innovation like Google or Facebook or different things like that. So it really depends, but I would say that there is some sort of like hierarchical sort of weird stuff going on where like the techie people think that they're better because they get to use the deep learning compared to like the other people who are doing more visualizations and stuff like that, which some people don't think of as data science, which is kind of weird to me. But yeah, I find that it's just a thing that I hope that it passes, because like if you're a great data scientist, you should be able to do like pretty much everything. Like there shouldn't it they're just different challenges that you're going to face through. So yeah, there shouldn't be this sort of hierarchical thing. I think it's weird. Like it doesn't make sense to me. Okay, Karuna, how do you define a good project? Okay, so if I had to define an optimal project, it would be in GitHub with a very good markdown, lots of really nicely written code. It would follow some sort of style guide, so it looks really nice. The data analysis would be detailed in kind of like a story writing, like storytelling sort of style. Bonus points if you turn it into a tutorial, so you're kind of sharing your knowledge, because we do that a lot. Like knowledge sharing and documentation and different things is very important in the industry. So if you can kind of demonstrate all of those things whilst doing some data analysis or different things like that, I think that's like perfect. But it's difficult because over time, like because I've worked on so many projects, I know what a good project looks like and what are some of the pitfalls. So I think that's the issue. So it's more about like all of like everyone who's doing a lot of effort and putting in a lot of effort into their projects, like it's always going to be a good thing. But there are some things which you should avoid doing, because they are the things which stand out more than all of the good things that you are doing, which is really sad. But it's just when you're reviewing a lot of different projects, those are the things that stand out. But on the flip side, because they stand out a lot, people can give you really actionable feedback to, okay, fix this. Don't have spaces in your file names, or because they break your paths, or different things like that. So I feel that you just need to like share more projects and continue iterating. Like I wouldn't mind if I had someone share with me their project where their first few iterations are like not great. They're pretty average, but then I give them some feedback and then they make it into something amazing. Like that transformation is the thing which is really valuable, because it demonstrates that not only can you like accept feedback, then actually implement the things to make it better, but you're improving yourself at the same time. I think that's really cool. Like that's what, like a lot of the times hiring managers don't get to see that, which is a shame. But if you can somehow document that process where, okay, I was here, here's what I did before, here are the mistakes that I made, and here's how I rectified it and made it better, and you actually share it with people, I think that's amazing. Like that's really cool. Okay, Raxon, thank you so much for tuning in and your support. Hope it's helpful. I'm kind of just standing here and just talking, which is great. LinkedIn user, which is better in a project? Include the code in line with the project, or focus on the analysis and point viewers to your GitHub for the code? Okay, so there's, I would actually say to do both. So there's like, if you do like Markdown based or GitHub pages or different things like that, you can essentially have your analysis in a story with data visualizations, and then you can hide your code in little snippets to, so if the viewer wants to click on the code, they can just click on a button and it shows the code that generates this chart, for example. So you can really turn it into like essentially like a Jupyter notebook or something more interactive or more personalized to what you want to deliver. So I think that's a space, like that might have been one of the 3 skills that people needed for data science, where I think being able to build markdown documents is really useful, because we do that like everywhere. So yeah, definitely. I think I would have code inline and with the analysis, but you should also have like, I think if you have your code separately as well, so like imagine you're doing something in Python and you want to demonstrate that you want to, that you can do Python scripting, ideally you would have both of them. So you have like your markdown to show your analysis skills, and then you have the scripting to show that you actually can build functions and do the scripting and make sure everything works together. So it depends on what you're trying to show with your project. So always start with the purpose that you're doing the project for, what you're trying to show to the hiring managers, and work backwards from there. That would be my tips. Okay. So I'll probably end this live stream at 3 p.m. Australian, which is in a few minutes, 5 minutes or so. So I can get back to doing my own work. But yeah, I hope everyone who's tuned in, I hope you guys are enjoying the session. I hope it sounds and looks nice as well. Like that's super important for me. like personally, I wouldn't want to tune into a live stream if the audio is bad, because like the audio is bad. And then and visually, like I think it helps with everything if everything is at a good quality. So that's what I'm aiming for today. And of course, the content that you're sharing and the things that you're that I'm able to help people with is super valuable. I hope it's valuable. So yeah, definitely do this more often. Yeah, but I think doesn't seem to be any more questions coming in today. I'll leave it open for a little bit longer, but yeah, I hope this time is okay. Like if this time is like not really working for people, like you can definitely let me know. LinkedIn user, thank you for telling me the audio is great. Yeah, I spent a lot of time trying to figure it out, so hopefully it sounds good. Thank you, Vipul. Thank you so much. You're a legend too. Vipul's been helping me out with a lot of the beta testing and for a few months now for the whole Data with Danny thing. So very, very grateful to you, man. Thank you so much. Mayoa, awesome. Great to hear. Yeah, I think like I'd love to do different timings, so then different people from different time zones. I hate time zones. If the time zones can all align so everyone can actually tune in live, I'd love to interact with people one-on-one, like, and this is probably the best way that I can do it, as long as I can keep up with all the comments. Wilson, thank you so much. I haven't actually checked your profile to see where you're based. Yeah, I'm glad the time works though, so that's awesome. Cool. So yeah, I think the questions have kind of dried up for today. So Ricardo, thank you so much for your feedback. And yeah, I think I might just we'll call it a session for now. And if people kind of comment more, I'll try and be in the comments afterwards and respond back. But James, yes, thank you so much. Yeah, my friends were telling me how like I said Tuesday and Friday, but then for everyone else, it's kind of like Thursday and Monday. I don't know. I hate days and time zones and different things like that. So, and just as I wanted to keep it going, then everyone is asking me more questions. Elias, I wish I could probably, okay, I'll answer these two last questions. These are the last two questions from whatever the time zone is. Like, I can't see. Okay, so other than Kaggle, where can we find some good notebooks? Which helps us see with what are the best practices? That's a really good question, actually. So this is sneaky, so I don't recommend it for everyone, but there's actually a lot of published books which have accompanying notebooks in GitHub repos. So the notebooks are free and you can actually access all of them, just you won't get like the actual written book content to know what's actually going on and the theory behind it. But that's probably a good place to start if you want like good quality paid content, like paid in inverted brackets. So sorry for whoever the publishers are that support me. Sorry. But that's it. I think that's a great place to start. There's also great notebooks. Usually, let me think. Like usually in the Jupyter docs, they will also have good notebooks too. I know for R Studio, they definitely have a lot for R Markdown, so that's a great place to learn too. If you're going R. But yeah, hope that helps. And LinkedIn user, this will be the last question, and then I'm gonna head off straight after this. So, how important has knowledge of BI tools like Tableau been important in my career, and is it a lot to balance learning coding stats with BI and Viz tools? So, this is quite funny because I learned Tableau from one of like the first 10 employees from Tableau or something, which is crazy. But I never actually used it properly. I think personally it's because I just don't like clicking and dragging. Like I just don't like the whole clicking and dragging thing. Like I much prefer to code. So for me, I over-index on like how much I want to code for my data visualization. So my friends would be like, "Oh, Danny, why this chart is so simple, but why are you doing it in code? You could have just done it in Excel." And then I say, "But I want to automate it, or I wanted to turn it into a function so I can reuse it, or different things like that." So I think data viz it's more the art concept as opposed to like we do this to do this and like we visualize data like this, because every visualization is sort of different and has a different context and the message is different. So you're essentially telling a data story every time you do a visualization. is the way that I like to think of it. So yeah, I hope that helps. But I would definitely say visualizing what you're working on is super important. So the better you can be at that, like the better overall you'll be as a data professional, essentially. So definitely invest a lot of time into data visualization, even if everyone is saying that you should be doing machine learning instead. So do both. That's what I would do. So yeah. Okay. I'm gonna call it for 1 hour now. So thank you again so much for tuning in to this session. And I will definitely be back. I think I'm gonna do exactly the same time on this Friday. So let's see how this goes. Thank you again so much for tuning in, and see you guys next time. Bye now.